What's up, y'all? I'm just gonna demo really quick for you a slab built mug, textured slab mug. I like to make a lot of my functional wares hand built techniques like slabs here. I've already got a slab rolled out. Y'all know how to roll slabs. We're gonna make the handle out of a slab too. Lots of different ways to do texture. Recently I've been into these cool little texture rolling tools I picked up down at Creative Ceramics. Just roll them on and they make a cool pattern. You can use all sorts of things. This is a homemade texture tool I made. A lot of you have seen me use this before. What I like to do is texture the slab before I wrap it around here to build my cup. This is just a cardboard tube here with some plastic on it. Plastic helps the clay slide off a little easier. This is about a 3-inch tube, which makes a good size mug. These obviously have shrunk because I fired them. That's what those came out of. So let's try some of these cool texture rollers here. When you're doing this technique too, you want to roll your slab out a little thicker so that when you really texture it and you start to bend it around to make these cups that they don't fall apart. If your slab's too thin, once you've textured it, it's just going to fall apart. So I'm going to have some fun with some texture here. Fun with some texture. That's like a brain coral technique. That's pretty cool. Pattern, I mean. Here, let's roll this one, and here's this one. Oh yeah, it's fun. Okay, and again, I like to do a lot of just whatever textures too. Whatever tools I have laying around. This texture tool here, I invented this actually tool when I was in high school. I had a bunch made for the college here, but I just took this to a bandsaw and cut a bunch of little notches, and depending on how you push it into the clay, it can really make some really cool patterns. A lot of you have seen me do all these sort of patterns. Yeah. Kind of fun. So now we're gonna roll it around the slab, or roll the slab around the tube. I'm gonna leave myself a little bit at the bottom here so that this plastic doesn't get stuck on there. I'm gonna just roll it to where it overlaps a little bit. I like a little, that seam, that overlap seam. Maybe I'll do a wavy cut here. Okay, so I'm gonna do this wavy sort of cut, and if you tear the clay, cut it a little and tear, you get a cool torn looking edge there. Okay, let's roll that up. Get your tube on there straight. Overlaps quite a bit, that's okay. You want to slip and score these connecting seams here. This clay is pretty wet, so I could get away with just blending it together, but I'm going to just score it, slip and score it a little bit. The two joining sides. Okay, and then those roll, they meet up. Right over that. You see this? There's that seam. I'm going to celebrate that line. I like that. I like that to show. Okay. It's a little off, but that's okay. I can take some material off of there, cut it flat. Okay, now we're ready to put it on the bottom. I go kind of in the corner, so I'm not using up all my slab, and I like to leave a little extra mass around because I like to create this sort of visual foot here. So I leave a little bit of extra clay. I don't cut it totally flush. That's really up to you. This is just how I like to do it. There's about a 1/4 inch coming off around it. There's some more of that texture that I was gonna. Forgot I wanted to kind of stretch it out and see what it looked like. Sometimes it's fun to do some texture on a slab and kind of stretch the slab. Okay, and it makes the texture look even more interesting when you stretch it a little bit. Kind of cool. I really like texture a lot because I like the texture not only as a tactile feeling on my hands, but the way that the glazes catch and break on edge when you have texture on your cup, whatever you're working on. So slip and score that bottom on. There we are, score tool. This bottom, add a little bit of water to help create some slip. Again, you can either wet and score the surface and you'll create slip, or you can just make some slip, kind of brush it on as you score. Let's put that on there now. Down and pull out your tube. I trapped some of the plastic, looks like, in between the seam there. There we go. The plastic will help it slide off of there. Newspaper works pretty good too. Okay, this clay is pretty soft. If I had let the slab set up a little bit more first, would have been a little easier to work with. Yeah. Again, I kind of like my cups kind of funky looking. Take a little more material off here. I didn't need that much. I like to kind of fold it up and around. I'll kind of paddle it. Again, this is pretty soft, so I'm gonna have to wait for the clay to set up a little bit more to really paddle it. Kind of get more of the shape that I want. But again, this is kind of a fun, easy technique you all can do at home to make some cups, mugs, vases, whatever you want to do. I know a lot of us are working on just cups right now. Okay. So you can kind of see that starting to come together. I'll come back through too when it's leather hard and kind of do a little more details here and there. Okay, get your finger in there and kind of smooth out your score marks on the inside. Blend that seam a little bit. You can push from the inside out, just distort that texture a little more. It looks cool. That is a big mug. Okay, let's make the handle. So for a slab made handle, I usually start with a little triangle shape like that. Let's roll something on there. Let's go with maybe this guy here. Roll that out. Okay, I'm going to stretch it a little bit, make it more interesting. And you don't need this handles part of your slab to be really thick. Thin that out a little more. We're going to just roll that into a handle. I'm not going to slip and score it, I'm just going to pinch the seam together there where it comes together. Okay, the wider your slab is, the bigger your handle will be. Obviously, the longer it is, the longer your handle will be. You don't need your handle super long. Yeah, I'm gonna cut this. Maybe I like to get down and kind of look at the negative space it's creating. And a lot of times I'll build 2 or 3 different handles and pick the one that I like the best. All I have to do is remember to poke a little teeny hole in this handle somewhere because it is hollow. So once it goes on this cup here, if you don't have a little hole poked in there, you're potentially catching some air that could potentially maybe blow your handle up. Just for now, I'm just gonna kind of stick it on there and try to figure out how I want it on there. Always look at the negative space the handle creates against the body of the mug there. And I really kind of like that negative space to get the handle shape that I want. My eye always usually goes to that negative space. Okay. That's a pretty big handle. But if that's the one I decided to go with, might try a couple different other ones. I can pull this off and slip and score it on when I'm ready. If that's the handle that I want. I might make a few more handles. Here's this piece of clay here. I can make a handle out of this. And again, once this gets more leather hard, I'll come back through and I'll paddle the foot a bit. You know, take one of my little paddle tools and paddle it a little and shape it. And maybe I'll take some material off of here, or maybe I'll leave it. Again, I kind of like my pottery. My handmade pot's kind of funky. So there you go. Slab built mug. Whoop. And again, when this gets harder, I'm going to paddle the bottom a bit.